Cool Umbrella is definitely a known Nurgle enjoyer, so what better way to pass the time than to watch him take on Tzeentch in an absolute slugfest, and I promise you'll want to stick around to the end, because this is a nail-biter, folks. We've got no Kugath in sight, which makes me happy, I must admit. I'm kind of biased against the big one. But we've just got a Nurgle Sorcerer on foot for a super cheap Healing Lord, relatively tanky as well. 54 melee defense on foot. Pretty serious, even if it doesn't have that much HP overall. It's got some Knights of Nurgle as well, protecting the flanks, front line of Marauders, mixed with Chaos Warriors with a single chosen great weapon for the elite killing power here. Speaking of elites for Tzeentch, we've got the Doom Knights Regiment of Renown. I've been seeing Doom Knights make a little bit of a resurgence. I do think there's certain matchups where they are basically essential. This matchup in particular, you do have to respect Nurgle's flying skirmish, and so I really like the Knights of Immolation pick here as a way to kind of counteract them and just give Tzeentch some nice mobility here. We've also got two Screamers, some Marauder Horsemen as well for mobility, then a front line of some Marauders, second line of Blue Horrors, and of course Kairos up in the sky with some more Marauder Horsemen on the opposite flank. Kairos is immediately going to start Lord sniping. But the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot is a small enough target that he's able to somewhat dodge some of those shots. Not to mention, he's got, passive healing from the Crown of Everlasting Conquest, so he's going to be relatively snipe-proof. Keep in mind, this missile resistance does apply to magic missile spells. It applies to all missile attacks, whether they be magic missile spells, even Dragon Breath attacks count as missile attacks. If there's a bombardment spell that comes down like missiles from the sky, I believe it actually works against them as well. It's actually pretty good to have missile resistance against a lot of different things, but he has a little bit there that will help him out. Chosen slowly moving in here, but initially the Marauders of Nurgle are going to suffer pretty badly here. Even the Warriors also kind of getting blasted by blues as they empty their ammunition, but they don't have a lot of ammunition. They've already used through a pretty good amount of it, and Nurgle rush is ongoing. Warriors getting into the back line to start to smash up these blues. Oh yeah, I love the aesthetic of the black-clad Nurgle warriors. Definitely looking very, very cool. And these poor little blues obviously aren't meant for a melee engagement like this, but they just need to hold for some time. They probably already paid for themselves, honestly, with their shooting attacks. And any extras, just a little bit of blessing on the cake. I don't know. Chaos Knights of Nurgle, Fleshy Abundance there. Is not going to save them from getting terror-routed. Nurgle jumps in with a lot of resources here. Knights of Immolation, Screamers, bunch of blues all filtering in here, and they did a lot of damage, managed to terrify away those Chaos Knights. Also got these Marauder Horsemen in a nice support position here, so far things are looking pretty even. Nurgle's punching, but Tzeentch is punching right back. The loss of this elite cavalry initially is going to be pretty painful. Of course, Nurgle does have plenty of capacity to heal them, try and keep them on the battlefield, but let's see if Tzeentch chases with those Marauder Horsemen, try and get them off the battlefield. Meanwhile, the other Marauder Horsemen getting chased by the Knights. We see kind of the reverse situation there, but Knights of Immolation have also been doing a great job of staying on the move. I'm going to kind of keep things in a high level as battle is getting pretty dynamic at this point, with these Tzeentch mobile forces really doing a good job of, making their presence felt, not lingering too long in one location, but immediately kind of teaming up to go after these Knights here, try and bail out some of these, Marauder Horsemen who are trying to chase the other Knights, so we're going to get a big investment of resources over in this mobile engagement. Kairos also swooping out there with one more unit of Screamers. Of course, the rest of the Nurgle forces, other than the two Exalted Heroes on horseback, are going to be relatively slow and won't be able to respond quickly to that engagement. Looks like they're just going to stay and grind for the time being, try and cut through what's left of the blues in this area, just, get them off the battlefield. Though that does mean these Knights are a little bit hung out to dry. The other unit also getting chased off here by Marauder Horsemen. Just excellent use of mobility by Tzeentch. Lock up that phase of the battlefield pretty decisively. That said, infantry, of course, of Nurgle is going to prevail. The heavy armor, the Chosen in particular, way more than what these blues and Marauders can get through. So we see here they're mostly broken. Marauder Horsemen also have taken some pretty good damage. And importantly, these two Exalted Heroes are both completely healthy. We'll see how they kind of perform through the rest of this battle. They're going to be pretty critical to the success of Nurgle here. Right now, they're getting a little bit far ahead of the rest of their reinforcements, just trying to get to what's left of these units and bail them out, but we're going to see another blue fire unleashed there. Again, they're smallish size, means they're not going to take an insane amount of damage from that. They also have the missile resistance as well and everything, so yeah, serious armor, which, I mean, is blue fire actually all armor-piercing damage? I do not remember. Let's look. It is actually only 25% armor-piercing damage, so that heavy armor of those Nurgle warriors and, like, the Sorcerer Lord himself does help, although since it's a multi-missile spell, once the first missile makes contact, it will actually reduce the armor slightly because of the Warp Flame effect, but still, it hasn't been very effective for Tzeentch to be shooting these characters, and it may be that the lack of anti-large AP is the thing that kind of does Tzeentch in here. Screamers are the only thing, and, you know, he has Kairos and the Knights of Immolation for, you know, decent power, but we'll see how they do against the Exalted Heroes. I guess if they can kill off everything else, especially if they can somehow snipe this Lord without these two counter-sniping, then Tzeentch certainly has some chance for success here. Kairos also being completely healthy, Knights of Immolation, lots of HP left there as well, so there's plenty of game left to go, folks, as we move into another phase here. Tzeentch kind of reforming to a degree, helping these Tzeentch Screamers chase these Nurgle warriors off. And this is probably what the blue fire should have been doing the whole time. Specifically targeting the Chosen, I would say, would be the best target to try and, like, swoop in and side shot just like that on the Chosen as the #1 target, since they are so expensive. And they're such a powerful infantry unit. They're also pretty slow. I mean, shooting these Chaos Warriors is also a 100% valid target as well, but the Chosen are definitely the most important, so probably prioritize them with those blue fires rather than even shooting at the Nurgle characters. Doesn't seem to be wildly effective against them, but yeah, nice little attempted side shot there. Cool Umbrella does a good job of turning his unit so that it doesn't take a full broadside, but in general, it's yeah, the magic is kind of being spread a little bit here between these different Nurgle infantry targets. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this into a fast forward as the Marauder Horsemen get a nice surround. They're gonna obviously use up the rest of their ammunition here. Cool Umbrella decides to mostly just park it for the time being, let his units rest a little bit, and just try and take his fire as much as possible, while at the same time not being completely passive. He's still trying to dodge as best he can those blue fires. Gets one Exalted Hero a little bit caught out here away from the rest of his units, but it does draw down a significant number of Tzeentch forces to the ground, where they potentially can get rear charged, but of course Nurgle's forces are quite slow here, even with the horses of the Exalted Heroes, and they're not going to be able to catch up in time. So let's continue to fast forward here. Oof, that one was rough, almost like turned into that one. But yeah, Kairos and his mobile forces are just going to try and single out the various targets and terrify them away, and then chase them off with Marauder Horsemen. I would imagine is going to be the tactic here. Nurgle, meanwhile, is just trying to, wherever they charge down, just reinforce with the Exalted Heroes, allow them to get a few attacks in, just make it painful for Tzeentch to continue to try and cycle charge this, but Tzeentch is going to play this very patiently, and you can see that the Chosen actually do get heal capped here. They're taking all the Javelins pretty much at this point, and some more Tzeentchian spellcraft. But Kairos does get caught on the ground momentarily. These Exalted Heroes are able to do quite a bit of damage to him. Let's see, though. I mean, those Knights of Immolation still have the majority of their HP left. They've been very patiently kind of saving and using their bombardments, cycle charging in, charging out, replenishing barrier, and just, you know, really utilizing those Tzeentch mechanics to their greatest effect. But the issue here is these darn Exalted Heroes really don't have a good counter, and even the Tzeentch is even struggling to kill the Chaos Sorcerer Lord himself, so just the single entity killing power was pretty light in this build. He had a lot of counter cavalry, had a lot of counter mobility with the, you know, Marauder Horsemen and the Doom Knights, but in terms of actual character killing power, I think they were relying a little bit too much on that blue fire. And it's not as good against armored characters, especially armored characters with healing and missile resistance. I mean, all characters have 15% missile resistance, or at least they should. Maybe some of the demonic characters do not, but you know what I mean. They have small size, And the healing and the armor just makes it not as efficient as it would be in other situations for Lord sniping. So, as a result, these Tzeentchian characters, or sorry, Nurgle characters, managed to just hold out for quite some time. At this point, the Sorcerer's getting bullied a little bit. He's getting knocked around, but the two horse-mounted Exalted Heroes, of course, won't get pushed around as much. They can continue to do attacks. So this is going to take some time. Tzeentch is going to try their best. They've got the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord to his healing cap, which is definitely impressive. But Tzeentch is just running out of support units at this point. Kairos, if he's trying to cycle charge by himself, is going to be quite vulnerable to counterattacks from the Exalted Heroes. But he's definitely giving it his all, trying to use as many blue fires as possible to finish off these characters. But it's just, I mean, he's barely got the Nurgle Lord here down to below half HP, finally, at his healing cap below half HP, so it's been doing an insane amount of damage to him over time. And all this effort just to snipe the Lord when you still have these two basically full health Exalted Heroes that simply seem to not care about any of this. So despite their Lord almost dying, it's still not enough, and in fact he does not die. And nearing the 20-minute mark here, we're finally going to see the fate of Kairos be sealed. Probably saw this one coming, or at least he should have, to be honest, but yeah, the Doom Knights just trying their absolute best. I have to give credit to the Tzeentch player here. They've been cycle charging extremely aggressively, trying their best to just keep it moving, but it's not enough. These Nurgle champions are just too resolute, too strong, tanky. And they managed to hold out until the end. And taking a look at their damage values here. Yeah, 2161, 2108. Some really beautiful symmetry there, honestly, and how close their values are together. 10,000 damage on this one, 9,000 damage on that one. Very interesting stuff. I mean, the Chosen also managed to accrue quite a bit of value. And that's kind of the three units, I guess, for Nurgle that really performed. We got like one random Marauder paying for themselves. Pretty much everything else struggles, though. Of course, the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord tactically holding out until the end and providing so much healing is pretty critical as well. Tzeentch, on the other hand, Kairos carrying 4,000 value, with the Doom Knights carrying an additional 2,000 here. Of course, we're going to see some inflated values across Tzeentch's side because of all the healing on Nurgle. So just keep that in mind. The Marauder Horsemen also contribute some really nice damage here. Infantry line folded pretty quickly. The Blues actually didn't get as much value as I would have thought, given they were able to use up quite a bit of their ammunition. I guess a lot of the shots fell on the Marauders, who are pretty cheap, or the Chaos Warriors, who are shielded and armored, so they're not going to take as much damage from that. Actually makes sense when I stop and think about it that way. Interesting one for sure. This matchup can go a few different ways, but yeah, I definitely think credit to Legio here. Sabris just tried his best. Wasn't quite enough at the end of the day from a build perspective. These two Nurgle Exalted Heroes, quite strong. And honestly, if I'm thinking about what Tzeentch can bring that could possibly deal with them in melee, only really like the Aspiring Champion ROR. Even then, you'll have to get these guys to hold still for a while so you can actually fight them in melee. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's definitely an interesting matchup for sure. But, yeah. If you did enjoy this one, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.